What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica and I talk about frugal living, fitness motivation, and minimalism. In this video, I'm going to give you some moving tips that helped me with another recent move. So let's get into it. So if you don't know already, I am active duty Air Force and I'm stationed in Colorado right now. In the military, we move quite a bit. I was here for a year and then I moved after a year of being here. That was a month or so ago. That was a couple months ago. And my move that I just did, it wasn't very far away. It was about 10 minutes from an apartment to a house. So I recently had a baby girl and the 1-bedroom apartment just wasn't cutting it. I had to get more space with the baby. So here are some tips, because moving 10 minutes away, I didn't want to break the bank because I had just moved the year prior. I knew there was ways I could save money with this move, so let's talk about it. First of all, I hired 2 men in a truck to move like the really big stuff. And if you have a friend or significant other that has a trailer, I recommend just getting a U-Haul and moving the big stuff yourself. That option didn't work out for me with this move, so I went with 2 men in a truck who charge by the hour. I'll get into it more in a second. But with the big stuff, they ask if you have, like, how big is your TV and things like that. And they require you to have a TV box. And they charge you for it, like they tack it on to the hourly rate for the move, which would have been like $24 or something like that. So I went to U-Haul and they actually have moving supplies, of course. So I could get a TV box from U-Haul cheaper than the 2 men in a truck TV box. However, when it came to moving day, they actually just wrapped up the TV in some supplies they had in their truck, and they didn't use a box at all. And I was able to return the box to U-Haul and save like $19 or something like that. So when you're on the phone with them, ask if you really need a TV box. It's a risk. I was only going, right up the road, so I didn't want to spend money on a box if I could help it. And it's an old TV. I was confident it could survive the drive because it survived like 14 years of use and moving, and it survived. Okay, next is your mattress. So your mattress and box spring, they put that in like a carrying case, a cover, and I had one already for my mattress. I had like a zipped up mattress cover, and it's not the disposable kind, so I keep it and I use it every time I move. But I needed another one for my box spring, and they wanted to charge me like 10 bucks or something for this cover. But you all had one for $6. So before you just say yes to all these things with your moving company, see if you can get them cheaper from U-Haul, U-Haul, or if you know you're going to be moving a lot in the next few years, just go ahead and invest in one that you can reuse over and over again. My next tip is to move as much as you can on your own or with your friends. So I've got a Toyota SUV, so I've got a pretty good amount of space in the back of this Toyota. So I made about 4 or 5 trips back and forth between my apartment and the house, just moving all of the small things that I can move on my own. And that only left the couch, the TV, 2 bookshelves, and that was it. I moved everything else on my own. On the crib, I could pick up the crib, but I couldn't fit the crib in the back of the Toyota, so the movers moved that too. But I had it all ready to go. Like all they had to do was walk in, put the stuff in the truck, and then we left. Like I disassembled the bed ahead of time because they're on the clock, so every minute counts. And one of the 2 movers was less experienced than the other, so he didn't realize the amount I was paying every hour. I think it was like $186 an hour But then I got a military discount and it came out to a little over $400 for a few hours of moving. And I live on the military base now, so I also had to factor in them going through the security checkpoint at the gate. So they have to like check the truck, but luckily they were the only one, so it didn't take that long. The next step I have is to take your kids or your dog to daycare for at least the day so that you can go back and forth, you're moving, because your dog is gonna be freaking out, and then you don't want your kid to get in the way or get hurt. For me, I had my kid in daycare because I was paying for it whether or not I took her there or not. So I took her there to keep her out of the way, and then my dog, I just decided to keep him with me because he didn't know what was going on. So he would be kind of freaking out if I left him at the apartment going back and forth, left him at the house going back and forth. So I just kept him with me, and then I just kept food and water at both places and kept him kind of isolated in one location at each place, and then I would load and unload with him. But it would have gone a lot faster if I would have just taken him to a daycare, but then you're spending that money, right? So just calculate what you want to do. Last 1 or 2 trips though, I left him in the house because at that point I had most of my stuff here. So I felt like he could kind of feel like that's where you needed to be. The next tip I have for, based off this recent move I have, is to move all your essentials first. So I moved the air mattress and baby formula, everything I needed for the next night. For just one night, I moved all that stuff first. So my work clothes, you know, toiletries, uniform, dog food, baby food, clothes, all that kind of stuff. So that was the majority of that move the first time. And then, you know, things you don't really think about, like the shower curtain, the trash bags, your food that you're gonna eat, things like that. Once you have your essentials moved, then cut the utilities from your previous place like as soon as possible. For one of my utilities, I believe it was the Wi-Fi, I couldn't cancel it ahead of time, like I couldn't set a date and be like, hey, on this day, cut the Wi-Fi. They wanted me to like call in that moment and call them and say, hey, I'm ready, cut it now. And then that's when they cut it off. So before that happened, I had the Wi-Fi set up in my new place because I don't have phone service here in the mountain. I live on a mountain, basically. So I had to get Wi-Fi. And then for my electricity, I moved before my lease was up, obviously. So I couldn't cut the electricity until the date the lease was up. If I cut it early, then they would charge me like $50. So I had to plan that out ahead of time, and I could call them ahead of time and tell them to cut it off. And I didn't have a washer and dryer in my new place at that time, so I was doing laundry in my old place for a few weeks until I bought a washer and dryer for $200 from a lady in the neighborhood. So join, like if your neighborhood has a Facebook group, y'all, get on that Facebook group and they'll probably be posting about yard sales. This is something new I discovered, is being in a Facebook group of your neighborhood. And that's where you can connect to people. You can talk about issues in the neighborhood. You can talk about concerns. If there's people breaking in, if there's bears around here. If there's yard sales. So I snagged the washer and dryer up from somebody who's moving away, because everyone's always coming and going here on the military base. So I snagged that and they delivered it. The last tip I have is when you're hiring a mover, if you need to do that, look at how they're charging you, if it's an hourly rate, and if they're charging you for the supplies that they're using. And then compare that to other movers. So 2 Men in a Truck, you might use some other movers like Mayflower, things like that. But if you can, just like rent a U-Haul truck and get your friends to help you. I think that's probably the cheapest way, depending on the fuel that they're gonna have to use, because gas prices are ridiculous right now. So that's another factor to consider. All right, guys, that's all I have for you in this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys next time.